Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Home Video Library. I'm your host Nathan P. Butler. Just like the last episode, we're going to take a look here at something that is sort of an equivalent from another market to something we saw a lot from the US. You may recall that in the US there were actually quite a few different releases, both DVD and Blu-ray, of the Clone Wars film from 2008. And the standard version on Blu-ray, if you got it early and were able to still get the slipcover, was this thing here, with that Anakin and Asajj slipcover and all. We saw this many moons ago. There's your standard cover inside, what it would look like if you then bought it from a regular distribution later on when the slip covers weren't available anymore. You had your code slip and all, and you had two discs inside here, one of which was a DVD with your digital copy actually physically on the disc. It was very early in the era of actually including digital copies with physical releases. We looked at that quite a while ago in the series, but it was a milestone, right? The first Star Wars film of any kind on Blu-ray. Another thing you might remember about that product line was that there was no steelbook for a Blu-ray release. We weren't quite there yet, but Best Buy did have a steelbook release. It just wasn't Blu-ray. It was this larger packaging, DVD-sized packaging here, using this artwork here of Rex. Again, we saw this previously. You had a code slip inside this as well, with that disc design there. And because we later saw a lot of fervor for Star Wars steelbooks, particularly starting in about 2015 and going forward, there's been a lot of clamor of, boy, I wish there was a steelbook version of Clone Wars, which has caused one steelbook that is available for Clone Wars to become pretty sought after. That is the one from the Netherlands here. Okay, so we have the Blu-ray symbol there built in, the rating built in, but it's that same artwork here, just done in Blu-ray size, with the bar actually going across the top, and a similar design, some insert stuff here, to the disc label and such inside of it. This is one of those ones that you can see sometimes going for a pretty penny online because it's your one way of getting a Clone Wars steelbook to match all the other Star Wars films. Not in terms of style, but just the fact that it's a steelbook. But in the United States, right, that Rex in the armor kind of thing here, that was only something that you saw on the steelbook from Best Buy for that DVD. And of course, steelbook collectors would find that in the one from the Netherlands as well. But as we've seen in the past, just because something is a steelbook art choice in one region doesn't mean it might not show up as a regular art choice or some other kind of art choice in another region. We do see that from time to time. For example, the steelbook artwork for Last Jedi from the US at Best Buy. You could find that in other places, like we saw that as regular type packaging, slipcover type stuff from South Korea. We saw the artwork kind of separated out and used for the First Order and Resistance cover art for the slip covers from the UK. It is something we do see happen from time to time. Well, that same Rex artwork was used for a non-steelbook product in France. That also helps us see a product line sort of style that we haven't seen in this series before. And what I mean by product style is when a company has some type of style of their packaging that they just slap on everything, regardless of what it is. It's kind of like the whole multi-screen edition type labeling that now we see on all kinds of Disney era releases, right? Where, yeah, they call some of them Ultimate Collector's Edition, whereas if it's Marvel it says Cinematic Universe Edition, but it's still the same sort of packaging style and branding across anything being pushed out on a certain format from Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment, regardless of whether it really makes it look better, right? We see that a lot, straight through when it comes to modern Star Wars releases. But Warner was doing something similar with Clone Wars and other products of theirs in France. That product is this. This is the Clone Wars film as released in France as part of the Warner Blu-Line product line, as you could definitely tell looking at that up there, right? So you've got that artwork that we've seen elsewhere, but here the Clone Wars logo is in gold. Remember, on the steelbooks, it was in sort of that grayish tone. It is in the same gold you would see it on most of the packaging, so that does make it a little bit different. Around it, we have this product line border of the top WB Blu-ray disc, Warner Blu-Line, again that product line, kind of like saying multi-screen edition for Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment. Then underneath in French it basically says the best films in high definition. No, I don't know that. I used Google Translate. The side here, the Blu-ray symbol, product number, Star Wars The Clone Wars, and the Warner Brothers logo down at the bottom. Specifically Warner Home Video at the bottom there. Essentially the same thing on the other side there. And then the back actually looks a bit different than what we see here on the US version of it. So let's take a look here. So up here, it's like use or free up or use the power of your HD equipment or something like that. And then it's got your stats here. It does note that the audio options are a bit more so than what we saw in the US. In the US, the audio options, we had Dolby True HD English, 5.1 EX, Dolby Digital English 5.1 EX, French 5.1 EX dubbed in Quebec, Espanol 5.1 EX, and then Portuguese 5.1 EX with subtitles in English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese. The French version here, as far as the audio and subtitles, assuming Google Translate has it right here, is Dolby Digital, French 5.1 EX, English 5.1 EX, Castellan 5.1 EX, German 5.1 EX, Danish 5.1 EX, Dutch 5.1 EX, Catalan 5.1 EX, Norwegian 5.1 EX, and Swedish 5.1 EX with subtitles in French, English, German, maybe Castellan, maybe? Because it's not translating it right here. Chinese, Korean, Danish, Finnish, Norwegian, and Swedish. And of course, you have your text there in French, all your like stat information here, or not stat information, your content information there. Images, 3 this time from the film. Blu-ray disc, the copy protection stuff, 98 minutes. Dolby Digital. You have your typical sort of like cast crew information there. With everything, as far as the names go, just written as like standard names, but everything as far as like produced by, written by in French. Then you got your various logos, your required information down there, your UPC, your legalese, all that kind of stuff, kind of standard stuff there. Inside, you have a similar back, since we were just talking about the back here. Cover, same art, so it actually does have matching art here. It wasn't just a slip cover using that art style. Then Blu-ray disc, Star Wars The Clone Wars, product number, Lucasfilm and Warner Home Video here. Inside, you have one of those important, Blu-rays up to standards, blah, 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 kind of notices, except this one's in French. You see that a lot with that era's releases. Little slip here, Blu-ray advertisement, including Clone Wars in French there for Warner Home Video, and then the Warner DVD Club, again, in French as well. And your disc labels, similar to what we saw in the US, as far as having, the trooper over here, main characters with the clones in the background there. This one, if I go bit by bit, you've got legalese and stuff going all the way around the edges. You have your little block here that we typically see with like rating information. You've got some information up here, duration, blah, blah, blah. You have Blu-ray disc, Lucasfilm, Warner Brothers Home Video, product number stuff, and so on there. So kind of a standard French release. I am by no means an expert on French releases. I just know that it looks like, and the design, like the labels and whatnot, like the few other French releases that I have from approximately this era. But kind of neat that when it came to their cover art, they decided to go with the art that was used for the steelbooks in many other regions, and eventually it was released with that Warner Blu-Line marking on here as well. My understanding is there's a couple releases of this, one of which is Warner Blu-Line from France, but again, not an expert on the region. Just want to kind of show this here to just see that, yes, that artwork was used elsewhere, and yes, we saw other regions that used sort of that branding for their company on Star Wars products well before the US saw it happening with Disney slapping multi-screen edition and so forth on a bunch of our releases. So kind of a neat one, nice to have in the collection, but if you're going to watch it, I mean, it's basically the same thing as watching the US version, you just have different language options available. With that, we'll wrap up this episode. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with the home video viewers.